all that.
I'm stopping the stream and I'm starting back up.
God.
And we got to delete that one. All right, so we kind of just had a big mix-up problem there. So let's just run through this real quick. So dimension-wise, between the Pixel and the
geez.
Priv. Let's see if I should be better at this now.
Y'all gonna get look of deja vu or
The
no?
stream's live, right? The stream's live?
Yes. The
Okay.
Priv is...
Turn your pixel screen on. I don't want to like see this creepy Inception where your face is reflecting off the pixel screen.
It's still doing it, man. Oh, no.
No, I'm just messing, dude.
So essentially, the Priv is a tiny bit wider. So that's about how much it stands out. You can kind of see it a tiny bit standing out on the side there. Height-wise, the Pixel is just a tiny bit. You guys don't have any reactions now because we just kind of screwed all this up. So we're just duplicating this now.
I would like for patron clarity. Alex screwed it up. We were
This is true.
participating. Yeah. We were engaged.
We were actually interested the first time.
It looks clean, man. It looks clean. You know what I find kind of interesting?
What?
Can you show me the bottom of the Pixel?
The bottom of the Pixel.
Yeah, I'm just seeing it.
Hold on.
Interesting. Hold on, let me check something real quick.
The bottom of the Pixel. Oh, you mean like...
Like I want to see the back of it and like the bottom end. So the antenna band goes across the middle in the back. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Whereas that is what? So if you slide this up, then it's here on the Priv?
I'm seeing it.
Sorry. So essentially this is glass because for the antenna to get out, and plus they have little antenna bends here and everything. But I'm getting 4 bars. Let's see. So I'm getting full 5 bars of AT&T LTE on this right now. Like this has really good reception and service. I haven't had any problems. Like GPS. So I drove to the FedEx store and I literally popped my SIM card in when I was waiting there in my car, and I used this to drive me home. The GPS immediately was better than the Priv. The Priv, I'm sure many people who are watching that have the Priv, the GPS on the Priv isn't great. I don't know why or what, but like if you're turning your phone in Google Maps or whatever you're using, it doesn't know at all. Whereas this, like as I was turning onto a road, so essentially it was in my car like that, and it was slowly turning like that. The GPS was actually slowly tilting within Google Maps to turn onto the road.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the Priv, it was just kind of like, okay, oh, now you're changed like that direction. My buddy's is like backwards when he's going, but so it's
show me the bottom of the phone, Alex. I want to see like the USB. Is it a USB Type C port? I want to see.
USB Type C. Sorry. It would be nice to try and get some type of...
Turn it. Like, let me start seeing the back again. So in the bottom, is it like 2 speakers, or are there like little micro grills inside? Just 2 cuts?
There's like little grills inside of them. The bottom left, this is a speaker. The bottom right is not a speaker. So I'll actually play a tiny bit of music real quick. Just to kind of show that, because it throws you off.
Is it a chamfered or a rounded edge?
It's so like in what regard? Like going to the
on
back?
On the corners.
It's rounded. I mean, it's pretty much just like a straight like round. It feels like it's just fully rounded.
It's just interesting because, like, when you look at that, like, weird-ass render thing that we saw of the Mercury, the antenna lines are in the same place, the speaker holes are all in the same place. It's just, I know design is ubiquitous these days, but it's like that thing could be anything, you know, in terms of a reference-type design, even if it's, like, manufactured, you know, and designed by BlackBerry. I mean, they could be pulling a lot of design aspirations from different places. 4.5-inch screen on that Mercury. Kind of crazy. I wonder, like, with the keyboard on there, like, what's going to be taller, like an XL or something like that. Definitely weird, man.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
The Mercury's definitely gonna be an interesting looking device when it pops.
It could be big. Like, it's like gonna be Priv big, I think.
But
not a little big.
Like Priv open big.
Hopefully not that.
No, I think
chop off like maybe a little bit, but
no. But so that's the thing, right? So like even say that it's like, okay, so this is fully slid up. Let's say like halfway slit up, they might be able,
Yeah,
because the
yeah.
screen's going to be smaller, right? So now hold it next to something like this. This is already a tiny bit taller. I mean, okay, so if it's
Yeah.
like that much, it's not that big of a deal. I felt like this was going to feel so tall versus the Priv because it is a little bit taller, and you get
Doesn't.
used to it so quickly. The one thing though is like the Priv definitely feels like the materials don't feel as nice as this, but at the same time, I feel like I need to put a case on this thing because if I drop this, I feel like it's gonna like shatter. Whereas this, like,
Yeah.
it's strong, but like I don't know, like having glass here and aluminum, like I don't trust this, and it's just slippier or more slippy.
How's nougat?
Nougat, I'm okay. So this is something that I love. So the dual screen kind of thing here, which is really nice. So you can run 2 apps at once. This I'm actually going to show you a use case that I use it for because
Damn, it loads so
it's
fast.
everything. It's so
So
smooth.
smooth.
So let me
Holy
actually
shit.
close both of these.
Gosh.
So there's okay. So
He
let's
just closed like 5 apps in the matter of 5 seconds.
So there's Google Maps and it opens up real quickly, and then I'll go and hold this down to open up the dual kind of thing there, and I'll open up so like Google Play Music. So here's a use case that I would use it for. So I'm already booted in here, and I could be playing a song. I could then change the size to make the map so it's bigger, takes up more of the space. How about let's switch this out with BBM for instance, and I'll jump into conversation with James. So I'll hold this down, and so it says app doesn't support split screen. So that doesn't really matter if I'm in Google Maps, I can still get that app to work. So okay, it says it doesn't support. I was just in it. Some apps don't support split screen, but
Where'd you go,
sometimes
BlackBerry? You ruined his.
okay, it's I just had
Come
it.
on, BBM.
I freaking know it, man.
That's funny.
Can't wait for Hub to get on iOS.
So I'll open up. Okay, so here's one. So if I'm in a conversation with like my buddy here, so the one thing is, so like I can have it small, be GPS,
Straight
whatever, and I can open up there. I can type a response really quick, send it, and go back to the keyboard going down, and you still get this nice kind of. Do I have orientation?
Why didn't you use the moves, you fucking noob?
Oh, it's pretty nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks nice.
Um,
You can imagine as like Andromeda and other things come about, like this kind of all starts making sense.
The thing that I like the most with this though that I'm using a lot is quick switching. So
Yes,
it's
that
just
is what I.
like look how when it's I'm missing it because I can't even see. Wait, I'm on the reverse. Okay, so double tap, like it's so quick to just like go back and forth, and that's something that I'm using a lot. The little assistant pop up there, it feels more natural because like on BlackBerry or whatever, when you do click it, it's up here. So you tap in it, and it starts listening up there. It's kind of nice just having it come in from the bottom to pop up really quick, and you could ask it a question, and it works well. It's nice, and I'm enjoying it. Simply the speed. So the one main thing is if you go over and see the data or the memory. So right here, memory. It's right now average has used 2.8 gigabytes of RAM. So and that's one of the biggest things that the Priv has 3 gigabytes of RAM. So I've been using on average 2.8 gigabytes. So on the Priv, that's running into tons of problems. Whereas this is 4 gigabytes, so 2.8. I still have another gigabyte laying around that can screw around with stuff. So I haven't gotten any slowdown. Someone explained it the best way. Whereas, like, the average person using this phone, they may not notice a difference aside from, like, yeah, it's quick, but maybe you can get a OnePlus 3 or something that's quicker too or something. But the point is, when you're in crunch time, like, I was at a party last night for a friend, and I had to show him a video that I recorded. And if I was on my Priv and pulled out my phone and went to do a video, like, I know I would stumble around. Of course, the video app would not load. Like, just something would happen. And when you're, like, waiting on someone to show someone something, it's like, shit, like, work. Why are you not work? Like, this is so stupid. That's what happens with the Priv. It was so natural and ran into no problems. The app opened up immediately. I didn't have to worry about it, and it just worked. And that's kind of what iPhone users are used to. It just works. You don't have to worry about like crunch time for it to work. And one other little cool thing is the recording. So slow motion, this is kind of dumb, but here's my buddy was throwing a. So it has 240 frames per second slow motion, which like works really well. The camera's just gorgeous. Here's a boot, so I could double tap here to open up the camera, and it's pretty quick. So essentially like tap tap. Whoops. It's very quick, and then like the snapping shutters. So I just took like 10 pictures. And it processes HDR in the background. The processor can handle that. So where it's like, okay, this will be the best.
I wish your current camera could.
And here's the thing. So I'm going to take my current camera, and it's going to take an HDR picture, and then I'll take this one that takes an HDR picture. This is actually going to be really freaking tough to do. Here, I'll take it first with this.
Predicted demo fail.
So I'm taking the picture here. So I click the button. Oh, this is so freaking difficult. This is actually
What are you
like
trying to do? What are you trying to
the
do?
HDR. Okay, here. Hold on.
We're gonna see spider hands right now. Like what the?
So tap on the priv. It's still taking it. Okay. I just like the phone. Okay.
Fail.
I can't show that. But that's
That
the
won't fail.
frustration.
Wow.
So I've gone to take a picture with the priv of my dog who's like sitting there. He's making a goofy face or something. Pull out the phone, take a picture of the priv. The problem is when HDR is on, you have to hold your phone still for literally 3 or 4 seconds. What's
Yeah.
happening with the Pixel, it's kind of ridiculous, is it's actually constantly taking pictures. So when I haven't taken the picture, it's like it's taking pictures. So when you actually click to take a picture on the Pixel, it then just chooses a picture that it already took, and then it starts processing it in the background. So
Process is in the background. It's kind of like capturing a video
yeah,
3 seconds before you actually click on the button.
Yep.
So basically, when you click on the button, that's it's already processed pretty much the majority of the image, and then it just takes the best one out of all of them, and that's what you end up with.
yeah. So and that's the thing, like it's noticeable. And someone might ask about Snapchat, because realistically, Snapchat runs like shit on every single Android phone that I've ever had. So I'll just like boost it up, because like Snapchat.
You mean the priv?
No, dude, any Android phone. Don't add me on Snapchat. I never go on. But it's like, it's just quick. I could like boot up videos. Everything just works immediately, and there's no problems with it at all. I could quick switch between the camera and Snapchat without like any problems. It's so damn quick, and that's the
This is all very fascinating, Alex. However, I'm more interested in like how fast that device is after 6 months.
Oh, the thing is, the Priv was never this quick ever
Out
for
of the
me.
gate.
Yeah. So
I
I
think yeah.
I agree though. I'm curious to see what happens with the two. My Priv
It'll be
progressively got slower over the years.
it'll be interesting to compare the Pixel with the 60, because they're both running the same processor. They got the same amount of RAM in them, right?
No, they have a different processor technically.
Do
One's
they?
got the
Oh,
820, Then
820.
the
What's that?
D660 has the 820, and the 821 will be in or is in the Pixel.
So an
It's a
interesting
slightly
thing
Oh,
newer
it's
about
821. Sorry, my
Yeah.
bad. I thought it was 820.
But so an interesting thing about the 821 in here, there are 2 variants of the 821. This has the same GPU as the 820, so there's no difference there. This just has like a 6% battery saving, or like a 10% battery savings. So essentially, it's kind of like an 821 that's downclocked to be an 820, but you get battery savings with it because the 821 works as well as the 820 does. So they're using it more so for the battery saving aspect, but it's not really downclocked. It's just a different variant. So it's kind of like the
That's
820, just more battery efficient. But one thing that I did want to show, like I haven't charged my phone all day, so I did want to show like a battery test, because someone would probably be curious about that. So 18 hours ago is when I took it off the charger. But as you can see, like that straight line there, I was sleeping. So it went from 100% down to 98% after 8 hours of sleep. So like those works
Wow.
great.
Wow.
Yeah, so the screen here, so I have 35% battery life left. It says average 8 hours left, and the screen on time is at 3.5 hours. So
Nice.
3.5 hours is still
Wow.
35%, and I was listening to music in BBM, Like my phone has been on for 18 hours, not on any charger, but 8 of that I was sleeping. It was in doze totally.
Priv
So
definitely had battery issues.
yeah,
Oh,
yes, it did.
mine's starting to heat up again this week, and I'm losing my
Heat.
mind.
Thank you. I can't get it to get hot no matter what I do. I don't care if I'm in Periscope, Snapchat, video taking. Dude, I took videos for probably like 35 to 40 minutes straight last night because my buddies were trying to do stupid like trick shots with something or with like beer pong or whatever, and I was trying to test out the camera in like crappy low light whatever. And the thing was like I would click a video and I would be filming, and nothing happened, and then I would just pop in, delete it really quick, go back and record a video, and I wouldn't even miss anything because it was just so quick, and my phone didn't heat up whatsoever. Like this has never been hot in the slightest. So that alone has just made me feel like this gets hot, and then it starts downclocking the CPU, and then it starts running like shit.
Yeah.
Like that's
Yeah,
what
exactly.
happens.
Yeah.
So
Thank you, 808.
yeah, yep.
Thank you, BlackBerry.
Yeah, you could have went with the
You
810.
cheap bastard.
You cheat me out of 2 numbers on a
Yeah.
processor.
But they didn't have a choice, and I think that's one of the biggest problems where having Qualcomm be this master kind of distributor, they don't really have any competition. They have the patents, they could do what they want. So Apple, like they're so ahead in terms of processors because they're doing their own internal things. So rumors are that Google's going to start doing their own internal thing. Maybe in like 2 years, that Google phone will be running their own processor, which will be a big step in the right direction. But
There's
Here
that-
are my.
Sorry.
Here's what I'm thinking about the Pixel, right? I think Alphabet and specifically Google kind of have been looking at where they want to go
Mhm.
and what they want to do, and I personally think that the Pixel was a bit rushed to market.
It was just a tweet released last night that said it essentially was. It was an idea in December of 2015.
Yeah,
Nah.
they were gonna go
they
Aura. They were gonna
Yep.
do different things, and I honestly think it's kind of like we need to be in the market this year. We cannot wait any longer. We need something out there, and it's gonna get way better.
Yep.
I think in years to come.
This was
And I
probably
honestly
going to
as
be
well think
waterproofed if they had more time. Like
Mhm.
there's certain things like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly, and I think like honestly, does it has an SD card slot? No, yeah,
No.
no.
no SD card?
Nope.
It's all the Google
Ooh.
unlimited storage.
That's I have the 128 gigabyte variant specifically because it doesn't have an SD slot, and 32 gigabytes. It's not good enough
Yeah.
for me. But
You know what though? I can easily do with 32 gigs
Yeah.
personally.
Yeah.
I
can't.
could.
32 would work. 16, no.
Nah.
they don't even have 16. They just have 32
Well,
and 128.
With the aspect with 16, the issue is that the OS itself takes up too much memory for 16. You're left with almost nothing, right?
It takes up I
But-
think 8 gigabytes.
That's
Yeah,
what I
so
don't like about the DTEC 50, I think.
Yeah.
That's like the one Qual might have, I'd say.
But I don't hold music on my phone, which is one of the big things a lot of people do. I don't have any music on there. I have podcasts that I listen to and audiobooks that I listen to, and that's it. And then photos, probably once every couple weeks I go through, and then I move it to my photos to my network drive, which is then get cloud backed up through a service, and I clean it up that way. So
Yep.
I really don't need a crap ton of space on my phone per se, and I can easily live with 32 gigs right now.
The way that I was able to justify the 128 is because for like Pocket Casts.
You a baller.
No. For Pocket Casts and Google Play Music, I like to download a playlist or a bunch of podcasts, which may take up like 2, 3, 4 gigabytes of space.
Yeah, exactly.
And so I could do offline, so I don't have to be using data. If I didn't have to do that, if data wasn't a problem or an annoyance, then absolutely I could get away with 32. I think 64 is the perfect amount. I'd be totally okay with that. But of course they do 32 and 128. It's like 128, I'm not going to use anywhere near that much. 32, I don't know. On the Priv is 32. I had enough problems with that, and I had an SD card. Programs just start adding stuff up.
Priv is a terrible, terrible benchmark for you to compare anything to.
Oh, it
really
is. No, it is. It is.
Easy what you say about memory, because Bill Gates did say that no one should never need more than 640 kilobytes.
But that's the interesting bit though, because like I feel like for storage, it's not as big of a deal. Okay, like even looking at the future, a lot of it's going to the cloud. And great, like say that we get 8K video, that's going to be a problem. If you're recording 8K on your phone may run out of internal space to record it to. But by that time, like maybe it'll just record to the cloud. Like it doesn't even need to record internal. So I feel like it's realistically, for my own usage for the next year and a half, 2 years of this phone, I'm not going to need to use 128 gigabytes. But
yeah, that's fair.
So I'm seeing a bigger shift here, guys, in terms of, again, Pixel Rush is just shit hardware. Like, you know what I mean, Alex? Like, it's nice hardware, but it's still shit hardware, right? Like, it's just ubiquitous. It has nothing unique about it. And you would have thought Google could have kind of taken a risk on it, you know, especially it being their first entry. It just seems like the homogenized sameness that everybody else has. It's a good phone, no doubt, but it seems like a lot of companies these days in the mobile space are turning to services as the real defining differentiator between them. And if we look at BlackBerry and kind of juxtapose their position in the market, you kind of are at a loss. It's like the hub security, you know, it's like this productive and secure offering that, you know, keeps the monthly updates and things like that. And like that's the unique value proposition of BlackBerry's Android, whereas a lot of what's coming ahead is going to be these assistants and all, you know, all the things that they can do. So you can imagine like the Google Assistant and some of the variety that's brought in there is what the ultimate service is, right? And of course, there's things like, you know, the customer service that they actually have. But in terms of the core consumer-facing service, it's basically the assistant. And with Google, with Apple, you see a little bit more of a service through like their entire closed ecosystem, but Google will get there in time. Do you think, gentlemen, that BlackBerry will continue to kind of add on to the service offering that they have, or are they going to keep it confined maybe to one or two apps as opposed to more of like a central type of experience? Like Hub Plus is a great foundation, but do you see them kind of bringing new features and things like that? Most of what we're seeing in these beta updates with like what we saw in October, kind of just small things here and there, and it's not really at the pace I would like things. What are you guys' thoughts on it in terms of BlackBerry's continued software push? Like even Alex, I know on your Pixel, you're kind of using some of those BlackBerry services.
I hope that BlackBerry would be pushing updates more than they can.
You don't have to be giant anymore, Alex, just by the way.
What do you mean? Oh, I'm not. I switched that up.
Okay. So I should do the same then. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I am a little bit disappointed with some of the updates to the Priv and even to their apps. It seems like they're fairly slow updates, but at the same time, like you can compare it to when was the last time BBM was updated?
Let's not talk about BBM.
It was to revert that mistake that they did. No, with that layout change. Ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of wish. I feel like that's what a lot of us hope for. We're like, you know, BlackBerry's now in the Android space. They could differentiate themselves by pushing quick updates for the OS, and you know they're gonna have a beta, which is great because now they can push like OS updates to the beta and test it out early, and maybe they'll be one of the first manufacturers to get Nougat. And like we were really optimistic about that, and to kind of see how it's been playing out. It's slow. It's not like they're the back of the pack or anything like that. They're still pushing out security updates quickly, but they're not at the front of the pack, which is the one thing that we thought they would be a unique differentiator in that aspect, and they haven't turned out to be that. So that's what's disappointed me. But maybe I was thinking too highly of what they would be able to do, or maybe that's not at all what their focus is.
Maybe AT&T. Blaze, what about you, man? How do you feel right now in terms of kind of like the service offering that BlackBerry has? I mean, we're talking innovations. If I see a Mercury with like, you know, a unique two-factor authentication type tactile thing, that's value prop. Like that's something I see as a part of the core security service BlackBerry's offering, right? So do you see them continuing to kind of push down that vein, keeping it kind of dry and not so flashy? I mean, getting manual settings in the camera was like kind of like, whoa, like that's actually nice to see, you know? It's a consumer-ish feature that I can appreciate, but also, you know, maybe business people who want to do the manual type focused. Are they going to have that consumer focus? Are they going to expand on that with the Hub Plus suite, especially being cross-platform? If you guys look, Hub services lost 500,000 users in Google Play. So how do you feel about it, Blaze?
I think what they've done thus far is basically within the realm of their capability to be able to go ahead and push out these things. I think if they sort of, at this point, dove too far into the Android ecosystem and started, pushing out things, that's where things would start to get a little bit chaotic, and that's where, in the past they have sort of screwed up because, certain things were released well before their time and so on and so forth. I think they have a very concentrated focus. They have a nice roadmap of the things that they want to go ahead and implement, and in certain respects, they're sort of keeping their ears to the ground and listening to what users want. I don't think at this point they're looking to, go ahead and reinvent the wheel or anything like that. They're basically just sticking with the basics that they have implemented, making sure that the basic stuff that they have already out there works in such a way, and it doesn't necessarily, cause a lot of user frustration or anything like that. Maybe once they get the basics down, once they reach a point where they're satisfied with Hub Plus and everything that they have already implemented, that is when they'll start looking at some of the other things. But for now, I think they're just going to stick with what they have already pushed out to the market, ensuring that stuff works appropriately. Catching whatever bugs that they possibly can. I don't think we should expect too much in terms of innovation or, like new applications that are going to be coming out for BlackBerry's version of Android. I think they're just going to stick with what they know. Unfortunately, that's kind of like a dry scenario. Like, that kind of stuff does get a little bit boring for those who want more, but at the same time, it's within their realm of possibility to be able to go ahead and keep those things going, right? Once they start taking on too much more, that's when problems arise, and when they they start to lose quality control once they take on too much.
You talk about in their realm of capability. Do you think like they're a little bit limited at their size and scope right now, or are they just kind of way more focused on the enterprise side of the business like right now? Like, do you think they're kind of like up to their neck in terms of the software, and they're kind of, maybe don't have enough resources, or is it just a focus thing?
No, I think it's a little bit of both. I mean, they don't want, the resources are not there because it's not necessarily their direct focus. You know what I mean? If it was their direct focus, then they would go ahead and shift whatever people they possibly could to that aspect of it, or hire on new users to be able to go ahead and deal with the situation. But again, it's both of those things. Their focus isn't necessarily directly on that, and therefore the resources are not there because it's not something that's at the top of their list of things to do, right? If they wanted to, then they could just go ahead and pull everybody and put them on that. But even as John Chen said in one of those interviews after the recent earnings, he's like, we're hiring people, we want engineers, we want everything, but that was all essentially on like the QNX side of things for IoT and so on and so forth. So I think, if they really wanted those resources to be there, they would be there, but it's not their extreme focus, so they're not. And the people that are dealing with it to the best of their capability.
Well, if Blaze says it, I gotta back it up then, right?
I think the one thing people, like especially the BlackBerry enthusiasts, need to keep in mind, BlackBerry's been in this Android space for such a short period of time. Yeah. Not even a year ago was launched, right? And here we are. A lot of people complain about various services and so on, features and stuff like that. BBN's only 3 years ago since it went cross-platform, right? And keep in mind that BlackBerry was not looking for Android developers before those days. So now there are the companies in catch-22 scenario where they got to make up time, but at the same time, all the good engineers and software developers already been chewed up by all the other OEMs and companies, or moved on developing their own apps and not really interested in working for BlackBerry. So kind of got to take things in stride and be like, okay, when you're into the Android space, it's not so bad right now, but yeah, there's 50 million things I'd love to see updated with the hub, and 50 million things plus with BBM that should be updated, and keep bash my head as why it hasn't been done yet.
I'm worried more longer term because it's just been a bad rap, a bad track record in software for consumers. Playbook, boom. BB10, boom. It's like Alex is recommending Priv to his whole family, right? And then we have a situation like this where, can BlackBerry really offer the level of support? Can they play at the scale that they really want to play? Longer term. I think, again, it's going to come back to those partnerships that they have and whether they can really kind of grassroot themselves and really kind of sow those seeds in this Android space. And I think they have a potential to do it. I think it will take time for us to see kind of the full fruits of that labor. But right now, I don't think it's necessarily a set story. We don't know whether, years down the line, this Android endeavor is going to be something they're still supporting. We just don't know. Similarly as BlackBerry 10, it's like we're going to get some support, but a semblance of what will happen, 5 years out from now is really hard to say. Do you guys almost wish they totally kind of ended the endeavor and just went totally enterprise software and left handsets entirely? Or do you think that it's something that's worthwhile for them? Like, I don't want to be let down by BlackBerry devices in the future, as I kind of have been with some in terms of the updates we've been getting.
I want there to be a player in the space, a serious player who does a physical QWERTY keyboard. I mean, I'm a big advocate of like I have a mechanical keyboard. Like I'm a keyboard guy. So I would be sad to see like the only phones that now exist are all touchscreen slabs. And I understand like that's the future, the idea of the future where, what was that? They just came out with like a Lenovo laptop or a tablet.
Yeah, just
thing,
glass keys.
and it's just glass keys, and it's terrible to type on. Like if I bought that, I would literally take this and put it on top of that glass slab to use it. So
Yeah.
I understand that's the future, and that's the way in theory that it makes sense. But until you can fake glass to make it feel like you're typing on like something physical, I don't think that we're anywhere near that. So we should have a physical keyboard in the meantime. And like I do have a few family members who they love the physical QWERTY keyboard, but at the same time, out of the 6 or 7 people, or the 7 people I have on the Priv right now, only one of them is using the physical QWERTY keyboard. The other ones, they forgot it's even there, and they don't even really, they're not using it.
The Priv's physical keyboard is just so horrible.
But it's not that bad. Like I know some people. I don't
want to talk about it, man.
I
But-
used it. I liked it a lot. And it's not.
Yeah,
They're not
you
using,
liked it. You liked everything. You
No.
love your Pixel now, man.
No,
Two
dude.
months from now, you're gonna be like, "Fuck the Pixel."
they're not using. They're not using the physical keyboard because it sucks. They just like genuinely. I think it's out of sight, out of mind. They kind of. I think they forget this thing slides up, and now they're so used to touching on the touchscreen that they're like, oh, my mom maybe slides it up accidentally and like, oh, yeah, well, let me close that up, It's
It's like accidentally opening
Yeah.
like a package of something you didn't want to eat. You're like, oh, let me package.
you
that
have
back.
to literally train yourself to open it up to use it, or else you're not going to use it. And that may be the biggest downfall with the Pixel. The part that I loved about it most.
I think that you just explained the downfall of the Nintendo Switch as well. It's like, oh wait, I can actually take it with me. I left it docked the entire time. People are dumb, and I honestly think that's why Google took zero risk on the Pixel, because it's like why even waste the effort? LG dropping modularity after just one try with the G5. Same thing, right? That modular concept, and you can say Priv is a modular device too, to a degree. It's just an integrated modular device. People just aren't really about them. And one of my biggest complaints about the Priv was that I ultimately, to type with it, had to slide it up. Like, I loved the keyboard shortcuts and things, but to slide it open and then like press a key is a little bit like too much going on, right? If that keyboard was always there like it is on the Passport, I could launch apps like at a second's thought, right? But having to add that extra layer in there is a little bit haphazard. I'm just at this point, guys, worried about kind of what the perception of BlackBerry's consumer assets will be and whether that will have an effect on the enterprise sell. I mean, we saw good things in New Zealand, Australia, right? We're getting new enterprise software contracts for Watch Dogs and things like that. Like, well, that's really good. But I'm really just interested in how the degradation of the consumer side of what BlackBerry was kind of just followed to the wayside. And there's just not enough messaging about what's going on. It's so weird that in today's market, the whole Alicia Keys thing, the whole Keep Moving campaign, like
Wow.
would work now as opposed to then, because it's a product that is actually like, user friendly and acceptable. And it's just weird, this kind of, cycle we've been in here. And I hope BlackBerry can kind of pull away from the path, so to speak, and really plot their own course. Because right now it seems like they're just trying a bunch of Me Too stuff, Oh, we're building a cell phone. Oh, we're in asset tracking. Oh, we're in MDM, and EMM. I'd really like to see them have like something that no one else is doing. It's great that they all do it well and they're 6 out of 6 and whatever for high security. But I think there has to be more to the BlackBerry story. Otherwise, you're kind of just building it toward, some kind of finale, and I'd hate for that to happen where it ultimately just gets absorbed, so to speak, and it had nothing unique and it just dies off from there. Like Blaze, I think the fact that WebOS could transition to a television was something that was at least aspiring, It didn't totally just fade out and become nothing. It kind of lived on in its own way.
Yeah.
Do you think BB10 has a chance of that in any form?
No.
You think it's playbooked out at this point?
Yeah. As I've said many times, BB10 is a great operating system for a phone, but it doesn't have the ecosystem support, and at this point, the hardware requirements for it are, for lack of a better word, they're lagging. Like anybody who takes on BB10 has to go ahead and rebuild everything for it, unless they want to run it off of the specs that are already set, right? Like from the BB10 devices, it's going to require a lot for BB10 to go on, and I just don't see it happening. Even with everybody saying that they're going to go ahead and they have companies interested in licensing BB10, I think that's just a little bit of corporate speak to be able to go ahead and keep things moving, keep moving.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
Irony.
It's reached the point where it's like I don't know. Back to the general question, and everything like that. I think BlackBerry would have been, and really, it's a terrible thing to say because I'm basically putting myself out of a job at that point. But I think they would have been better off basically just severing the hardware ties in terms of handsets for smartphones and stuff like that, and then just concentrating on the software side of things and the other hardware aspects that they have going on, with the IoT boxes and stuff like that. Because it's something I think it's so damaged at this point that it's beyond repairability.
Mm-hmm.
You just need to sever that tie, and then
and I honestly think, Blaze, you've hit the pinnacle of where this conversation needs to go, because I honestly think BlackBerry's put it to consumers at this point, and John Chen's given it to the people in a way that says, look, if you want our device, we're going to give it to you, right? But at the end of the day, he's expecting, I think, a lot of consumers to do exactly what Alex has done and enjoy their services on a phone that is going to get the support and everything else, because BlackBerry honestly doesn't want to have to spend their time updating an OS. They don't want to have to spend their time, going through the motions with carriers and all the hoopla and all that, right? And I think this is where they're positioning themselves to slowly wean out of hardware to a point where they maybe toss a QWERTY device here and there through partners and whatever, and it's a less focused, consolidated effort, but they still have some kind of proposition there. No, and that's really where it may go.
I think that makes a lot of sense because, even some people have complained about software updates. So even with the Pixel, it's only guaranteed 2 years of software updates. People are like, that's terrible. Like, the iPhone has gotten like 4 or 5 years or whatever. But the problem at the end of the day is Qualcomm, and they're limited to essentially they're only supporting their chips for 2 years. So Google can only really update it for 2 years because of Qualcomm. And people are like, well, wait a minute, there's an easy way around this. Google should be able to pay Qualcomm more money to support their chips longer, which will then allow Google to then, pay. So it's like, to get more years of updates out, Google would have to spend more money, essentially make less money off the hardware, And that's the same thing with BlackBerry. Like, there's a certain cost associated with keeping phones up to date. When you sell hardware, yeah, they might sound like crazy high margins. Like, the phone was $220 to manufacture, and they sold it for $600. So there's a decent chunk of hardware there. Take out advertising expenses, take out the cost of maintenance and software updates, and take out all these different things, and you're stuck with a really small margin. BlackBerry is much better off just like, hey, buy our hub suite for $12 a year or whatever it is, and they're just maintaining this this software, and that's all they're doing, along with this software and that software and that software. Having to deal with this, like, here's a new device, let's promote it, it's the best thing since sliced bread. Okay, down period, down, new device, no, it's just it's not worth it. They can be a software company and make money a lot easier and really focus down and become great at what they are in software and not have to deal with hardware. It's just, it's a waste of time in a certain light. They don't want to do that. I think that's a great point.
They should have did this when Thorsten Hines announced that strategic review. They really should have went out and found that hardware manufacturer that was willing to partner with them full time, and BlackBerry would be like, hey, all right, cool, we're going to do the software. And maybe then BB10 might have had a glimmer of hope. You know what I mean?
And we heard conversations that Thorsten Hines was in conversations to license BB10 before it hit market, right?
Yeah.
And now John Chen just knocked on those doors again and said, "You interested in Android?" And it's just painfully ironic at this point, because I feel that there have been pieces and elements of the strategy that could have worked at certain times, but it never all came together in a proportional place. I think way too optimistic on BB10, way too optimistic on the developers.
And $1 billion worth of inventory. $1 billion. Like, come on.
They got a great price though, let me tell you. And it's with the strategy BlackBerry is undertaking now, you kind of have to put yourself up against it and ask yourself a question like, well, where am I going to be and where do I need to be on a mobile phone in the next year, right? What do I need to and want to get done? And Alex has done that, and he said, well, this is going to work best for me,
Yeah.
This is the option that I think is going to be the strongest suit for, and of course, he's well integrated into the apps for work and that whole side of the business aspect. So Google totally makes sense. But, you asked earlier for your friend, Alex, before you kind of went into the conversation. I said iPhone,
Yeah.
And I didn't know any background that they were already, all friends on iPhone. But iPhone was the option.
It's the safest and easiest and most sensible option for most people, and that's what sucks.
And that's the lens you need to look at BlackBerry under, that they aren't that anymore. There was a time where BB10, it was all very, very sensible.
By a curve. Even, curve. Like, what phone should I get? Get a curve. Like, come on, get a curve. Like, everyone gets a curve.
In the day of BlackBerry where you could reliably suggest something and know that it's going to be there. And I don't really want to harp on, whether the Android and the DTEC 50 and the Priv are going to get supported, because as Alex mentioned, there's hardware limitations that just exist in this industry. But I think more along the lines of they have to have the conversation told from both sides. Otherwise, the side that is buying the hardware has no idea what to expect. So I expect them to come out and give a little bit of an inclination as to what's to come at some point when they're ready. And we've heard them say, we'll release our roadmap when it's ready. Well, they never released a roadmap. So what does that tell you, right? That it's literally probably aimless right now. They're kind of going with what they've digested over some time and making smarter, more prolonged decisions as they kind of navigate the place that they're going right now. And I think they will get there. But
the thing is,
you have to be practical.
I think that they're clearing out whatever consists of a previous roadmap. That's why they're not
exactly.
They're not telling you what is leading up on the roadmap, because they're basically clearing off whatever was remaining on their pre-existing roadmap. You know what I mean? Like the DTEC 60 was set a while ago. Mercury was set a while ago, and that's why we have the software message being delivered. And as we mentioned earlier on the podcast, it's kind of like overlapping and kind of silly, because now you're like, you told everybody, you're like, hey, we're a software company, but check out this new device, right? But that's basically them filtering off of whatever it was that was remaining on their existing roadmap. And, we're going to see the DTEC 60, we're going to see the Mercury, and then it remains, I think once the Mercury hits, that is when it becomes really questionable as to what BlackBerry is doing in terms of the hardware, because we don't have a roadmap. Like, we don't have anything to go by after that fact, other than the announcement of them basically still continuing to build BlackBerry branded devices at that point, right? Like, that's the only sign of a future in terms of the hardware solution that we have right at this present point. So, we're going to see the DTEC 60, we're going to see the Mercury, and then the questions have to be raised about what comes after that, because for now, we're just stuck on these BlackBerry branded devices that technically BlackBerry won't have a whole lot of association with. And that's where I want to see a roadmap. Like, what comes after that? What is the future after that scenario? Because again, we're basically clearing out inventory at this point. This is all stuff that was set months ago, and whatever happens in the future is going to be more important than what is happening now.
Deep.
And based off of this model, how much does BlackBerry even themselves know when a new device is going to pop out? Really?
Exactly, right?
You know what I mean? They're the guys that are doing the software aspect. TCL or whoever else they partner with may pop up and say, hey, we're going to throw the device with your OS next week.
Yeah.
And BlackBerry like, okay, cool, sounds good. Right? And that
send me a couple so I can play
send me a couple and send me some screenshots or renders, whatever, and we'll throw it up on the site. And that kind of leaves us, who are all picking at it and trying to dig into the weeds and trying to talk to various contacts to find out what's going on, when them themselves probably don't even know. So we're like chit-chatting, wondering what's going to happen, and all of a sudden next week the DTEC 800 drops, right?
Yeah.
The BBB 101. So we had a little mess up, guys. And by mess up, I mean Alex got all the audio, but he never split the podcast into two shows. So we're going to go for about another 15 minutes, and we're just going to give you one very long show that will encompass both our pre-post and after show. And we'll get it right. Third time will be the charm, I hope, right, Alex?
Yes.
Sure.
I mean, this
Congrats
was
to the non-Patreon guys.
Yes.
Exactly.
So we
for those
fixed...
still watching right now, because you stayed on past the 3 minutes of black.
Yeah.
I salute you. I salute you. Wow.
Yeah. No, there's 8 people watching right now. I just went and switched it to unlisted instead of private or whatever. But it's totally fine. Shows some people kind of what we talk about in like the after show, because I think, I mean, we kind of get into some really good discussion here because it's a little bit more freeform. We don't need to focus on the actual topics and Patreon questions, and we can just kind of start going. I feel like we get into some good conversations, so I think it's good to let some people see what we talk about and see if this is their cup of tea.
You're doing your own marketing.
I'm just glad I didn't say anything crazy.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Blaze, like, I said all of that in the first 15 minutes of the episode.
Probably should have, yeah.
Mercury, designed like the BlackBerry Classic, QWERTY keyboard, Snapdragon 625, which is, I believe, what's in the Idol, like the Idol line or something like that. 4.5-inch screen, which is weird. 3 gigabytes of RAM, 32 storage, 18 rear, 8 megapixel front, 3,400 milliamp hour battery, high precision and craftsmanship, aluminum housing, aimed at enterprise. Who the hell an enterprise? Outside of like governments, I just don't see like the appeal, and I worry about the price. I really do, because I'm getting
totally gonna mess it up.
What would you guys pay for it?
$800. No.
You would, you bastard. You bought your privet like $700.
$740.
$40, yes. How much would you guys pay? Because I'm at a place where if DTEC 60 is coming out at, let's say, $499, $699 Canadian, if this is coming in like, but it's a DTEC type, you know what I'm saying? Like DTEC 50 is closer in specs to the Mercury than the DTEK 60 will be. So it's like it's not a high-end phone, but it will probably look like a high-end phone. You know, the Classic is a very nice piece of kit. It's really well built.
It is.
I mean, it's a tank. It's a really nice piece of hardware. So, in the way that it's held its value, I imagine like if they put a device to market where they had the 300, 400, 500 lineup, that would make a lot of sense. It'd be a nice trifecta: DTEK 50, Mercury, DTEK 60, and you're kind of hitting that sweet spot. But $400 is going to be, difficult, I think, for them, especially with the kind of innovation they're putting into this keyboard and things like that. I don't know, all the costs associated therein. Using some of these like lower end specs or middle range specs is definitely going to be positive for some aspects of it. You have a smaller screen, right? You have a really big battery, and you have a pretty power, efficient system on chip. I mean, it's going to be a pretty awesome device any way you slide it. But how much, is it worth to you? Like, Alex, for you to really consider, that device, even as a recommendation for someone who wants a QWERTY, what price range would you like it to be in?
That's where it gets really tough. Well, actually, this is something that I had to think a lot about for recommendations, because right now, like my buddy, I'm trying to recommend him what to do, and one of the things is like, okay, well maybe because he has the Edge program through AT&T, so he could trade in his phone right now and get a replacement phone. He can get a Samsung or an iPhone or whatever, and he's like, okay, well, can I get a Pixel? And it's like, no, you can't get a Pixel because they are not on AT&T yet. It's like, okay, so what can I get? And it's like, oh, you should get a OnePlus 3. Oh, no, you would have to buy $400 outright to get the OnePlus 3. Like, so as weird as it is, for it to work for him, it needs to be a phone that's currently on AT&T. So I think if this phone is on AT&T, for instance, and they hit like a $400 price range realistically, this would be the physical QWERTY, maybe I could say $500 because it has the physical QWERTY 2, decent specs.
I just don't want to spend $1,000 between DTEK 60 and the Mercury in like a short period of time.
But so people don't even.
I'm gonna buy Blazes in 2 years. Fuck it.
Most people aren't even gonna be looking at this phone as like a $500-$600 phone anyway. They're gonna be looking at it as, oh, I'm right now making a $1,750 a month payment on my Priv, and I'm gonna have to make a $15 per month payment on this phone. Okay, like that makes sense. So it actually goes down in price. So really, anything lower than the Priv, and if they have it go to carriers, then I think they'll be okay for the average person who's buying it.
I just want to toss it out there that, we're assuming that it will actually even hit a carrier.
Well, and that's
what I was thinking, yeah. This doesn't look good. The Priv does not look good for carrier relations.
No, not at all.
No. Well, it's not so bad up north. Up here, anyway.
Yeah.
I honestly don't think it is. And I'm not up there. I don't know. But at the same point, I imagine with just like the returns and things like that we're seeing anyway, even if people reviewed it really well and liked it, they still probably had a lot of back office stuff that had to be annoying, But you're right. DTEK 50 hit carriers up there, right?
Yeah, so it's carriers and it's on displays too. So here in Kingston, anyway, I've seen it in displays. That's the basis of my statement there. That's all. Like,
that's a fair point.
Right. So.
And then Sean Chen's crapping on the Canadians about it.
Exactly. Like John did. That hits the heart, right?
Here's the thing: is that like the DTEK 50 is basically, it was sold as essentially a fleet device and a low cost fleet device and a low cost consumer device, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. Is the Mercury going to fall into that category as well? It doesn't seem like that's the stance that BlackBerry has on it, at least at this point. I would expect it to hit carriers if it does come across as that being the case. If it follows the same, path as the DTEK 50, I would expect it to hit carriers. However, if it's going to be something that BlackBerry considers something that they can get a higher margin off of and inflate the price on, then I don't think it will hit carriers, because I don't think carriers would be actually interested in it, right?
I agree. It's tough. I think BlackBerry needs to really the partnerships and the licensing can work. It all can work, but I think really they need to drill down on the nitty gritty here as to how they're going to actually make that happen, because they need to get to lower price points with their hardware. I mean, they at this point, if they're going to sell services, need to go for volume again, right? That's what made service access fees so, rich for them in the revenue perspective, because they were churning devices back then and did have millions that they were selling. They need to get back to that if they hope that, to just touch a bunch of phones on the software with Hub Plus, or want to even mess around in the hardware space. You got to make money, and if they're not making money, like what's the point? Even just to break even, it's kind of like, what's the point? I think they really need to start like really redefining what they want to do with that piece of their business. And I think if they focus with some of these devices and do their very best to not fudge the messaging from here to then, it can be successful. But there's still a lot of hurdles. We don't know what kind of snowballs are coming downhill, gathering momentum, about to attack BlackBerry. Samsung has a keyboard cover for $100 or $90 or something like that, right? And I know, yeah, it's just a stupid keyboard cover, but honestly, if you want a tactile experience, it's way cheaper. You can get the Samsung that will have all those features.
I've never seen one of those in person. Everybody always says, "Oh, well, BlackBerry exists. I've never seen one." Well, guess what? I've never seen a freaking Samsung keyboard cover either. So
I haven't seen them in person, but I've seen like YouTube videos with people like using them and talking about like how they love BlackBerry, but this is just more practical, And for some, it may be. I think honestly, if BlackBerry can continue to keep that vein of innovation going, and they can show us that they still have some, personality in this market, then the carriers will get on board with a QWERTY, just like they did the Priv. I think they respected the Priv, the carriers. Yeah, it kind of maybe let them down per expectation, but I think they respected the ingenuity and the engineering and all of that, and I think that's why they took a bet on it. And if BlackBerry can continue to at least do that, they're going to continue to hold some kind of market presence, maybe in a new way. I think the kiosk idea is a good one, but I also see it as a very kind of quick way to just kind of sell inventory as well,
Yeah.
If I'm trying to get rid of some classics, let me put a sales force out there and get rid of them. Like, it's like liquidation at that point. And the deals they were doing when that shop opened was like crazy, which are like the prices we have now. So
it actually blows my mind they don't set one of those up here in Ottawa. Like not Toronto, Ottawa, where the hub of all the Canadian government services and a lot of head corporations operate out of.
They're probably already on BlackBerry already, though, right? I mean, even BB10, they're probably already.
The government definitely, yes, but not necessarily the corporate heads that are up there and stuff. But it's not just the selling of the devices; it's also showing your face, right? With all the big guns up there that make decisions. Because keep in mind, the MPs in Parliament Hill now can choose whatever device they want. They're not all. It's only the federal government departments, not the actual elected members that are.
Fair point. Imagine if they did a kiosk in like Washington D.C., like right out of that Chase Center that they have. Like there's definitely, they need to go after it. I think that the retail strategy is great, just from a presence perspective. Even if it's a pop-up kiosk and it's just directing you online, like Pixel's doing the same thing, Google's doing the same thing. I mean, you got to get out there. And I know they have their shop in Dubai still, I believe, in the mall, which is still pretty big. So they have some kind of presence. They just need to unify that strategy. It seems too disparate right now, especially with this Indonesian market push. Like they might be able to revamp some kiosks like in that region and really make some significant headway. But, that's how it is. I'm hoping that they can make some quality devices that come out of these third parties. That's really what Blaze is waiting to see before he deuces out completely.
It's true.
Yeah, and I think the one thing that will intrigue me is a physical QWERTY device that is done like, nougat and it's beautiful and innovative and things like that. I don't think BlackBerry can make an all-touch device that can ever tempt me at this point. But I don't think that's whether they should be playing anyway. I mean, if they do play in that space, they're going to do, not a high-end device, and I only want a high-end device at this point. So nothing they can do can interest me unless they do something with the physical keyboard and just be different and do, their roots. So.
You're making me want to get a Pixel, Alex. That's not good.
I know. He's got me in the same boat too. You are a good salesman. I can tell. I see why. Happy families on the crib.
No. It's so great. No. It's on Verizon. No. It's on AT&T by Verizon. That's Alex's spiel. No,
my mom,
appreciate...
dude, hold on. My mom called me out the other day because I just got this is really funny. So I went downstairs when I got my Pixel, and she was standing there next to my stepdad, and she was talking, and then I was like, I kind of go over that I have a smirk on my face and I have a phone. She's like, oh, you have a new phone? And I said, yeah. She's like, so we're all getting off BlackBerry now? Is that what's going on? And I was like, no, it's fine. And I showed her the phone really quick, and then she was like, I'm having problems with the service in my phone. And I was like, I know it's a problem that's going on right now. And she's like, you're the one that switched us over from Verizon to AT&T. I was like, I know. And I was like, I told her, I was like, I might even be going over to Google Fi. It's like a standalone network. She's like, so you switch us over to AT&T, and now you're just ditching us all? And I'm like, no. Like, Mom, I got it. We got like $1,600 because we switched. Like, we got a lot. We got a big incentive to switch over from Verizon to AT&T, and like, and I was like, I put my foot in my mouth. And I was like, I just gotta shut up. Like, she was not happy, but
look, so. You can pull down the notifications with the fingerprint sensor, Mom. Look, it's so cool.
Look how fast it is, Mom, and you can have dual windows and everything. You can tweet while you Snapchat.
She wouldn't. Okay, she would not at all. Like, none of them would really utilize this phone to its fullest potential. But I screwed around with the help within here that you can contact support, and it was really interesting to me because I was thinking, like, obviously someone who doesn't know how to use a phone, they will use the Google support, the 24/7 support. But I'm like, wait a minute.
If they can find it.
What?
If they can find it.
Well, dude, you open up settings and it's a main tab. There's settings and then there's support. It's right up front. But so I contacted them, and I actually let me actually share my screen for a quick second. Window capture, create new.
I'm so salty. Ronell posted on Facebook that he's listening to Solange's album while we're live on Upstream. What in the world, bro?
So anyway, I contacted.
I could understand, but Solange.
So right? Come on,
I have no
man.
idea what that even is. I'm just gonna.
It's Beyonce's sister.
Oh, okay. She's famous. Like a musician.
She does music, yeah.
Okay.
That's craziness.
So I contacted support, and the girl's name was, thank you for contacting support. My name is Dia. How can I help you? I was like, hi there, Dia. How are you doing today? Great, yourself? I was being nice. She was being great. She's like, I'm glad to hear you're doing great, doing fantastic. Thanks for asking. Congratulations for your new phone, and welcome to the Pixel family. Like, they're trying to really create, like, you're joining, a community. And I was like, thanks so much. She's like, I got your query. Please give me 2 minutes. I was asking her about, hey, can I join the Android beta to get 7.1.1 or like whatever? Because I was thinking, like, for me, whenever I have a random question about, like, Google now, I can just jump in support and ask them if they don't know, like, whatever. But I get connected within a minute, which is cool. And she's like, the Pixel, there's no need to enroll for the Android beta. It's pre-installed. Essentially, you're going to be getting updates before even Nexus devices anyone or whatever. So it's like, this is a higher tier question that my mom or my aunt's not going to ask them, but they still come and give me support for it. And then we're getting in some details like, well, I'm on 7.1, not 7.1.1, and she was like going back and forth or whatever. But I'm like, this is actually kind of cool because I could just go and get in touch with a Google rep and ask them some random question that's on my mind at any point in time. So it's not just for support. I know they probably don't necessarily want me to do that, but this is also what's in the price of the Pixel that you're paying for. So
basically, for those listening, as we close up shop here, what Alex said is that he can now pawn off his family customer support to Google.
Yep.
That's what he just said. In a long-winded way. And he's nodding yes because...
But it's true. It is true, and I don't feel bad about it because they can probably give a better support than even I can because, like, you get this screen sharing and stuff, and this is the way that it should be. Like, they should be supporting their phone. Like, that's the way that it should be.
Just a quick question, Alex. That wasn't a chatbot, right?
Oh, absolutely not. No. We exchange
It's funny-
phone numbers.
Just
Like
checking,
we're getting
you know,
drinks
just
on
checking.
Friday. No, dude, it's not.
Google takes Amazon's idea and it's brilliant.
Yes. No, but that's really what it is. Yes. People
Just-
like customer support though.
We're in
Like,
crazy times,
Yeah.
guys. But this upstream's way too long as
It
is.
is.
This call alone in 2 hours. So we apologize for messing everything up. Alex does at least. And that 3 minutes of black is at the intermission. So go to the bathroom and then jump back on.
they
and
don't
enjoy your
they
after show.
don't see 3 minutes of black. It just chopped. Wait, I don't know.
We'll
I-
find out, won't we?
All
Let's
right,
end
guys,
it, Alex.
we're gonna end it
Blaze
and
and
see what
Scott have a
happens.
life to live.
Down there.
All right.
Alex
Then
is
we
gonna
gotta-
add hold music in the middle on that 3 minutes.
All right, guys, have a nice week or something coming up. So, all right, bye.
BlackBerry strong. Keep it.
All right, bye, guys. Enjoy the
Pray
Upstream.
for 60.
Yeah.
Pray for 60.
All right,
See you
later.